The blade was already out of the sheath before anyone thought to breathe. Cadet Sergeant Tomas Vega saw the flash of ceramic steel catch the overhead lights of Training Bay 7. He saw the small hand that held it. He saw the teeth behind the lips, needle-thin, translucent, still growing in. And he saw the eyes. Amber. Unblinking. Ancient in a face that had not yet finished being a child's face. 40 cadets stood in their training formation. 40 spines locked. 40 pairs of eyes wide and wet. Nobody moved. Nobody called out. The silence had a weight to it, a physical pressure, as if the air recyclers had stopped pushing oxygen through the bay. The child was 9 years old. His name was Kale. He was wrathy. And he had just spoken the challenge of teeth. Tomas understood the words. He had studied them in Xenolinguistics, 3rd semester, a dry Tuesday lecture he almost slept through. The phrase translated roughly to, I name you prey. I name you threat. I will open you and read what you are made of. It was not a question. It was not a game. Among the Vrathi, it was the oldest social contract. You challenge. The other answers with dominance or death. There was no third option in the doctrine. Tomas's hand rested near his sidearm. Protocol was clear. He had read it 4 times since Kale arrived on Station Vale 6 weeks ago. In the event of a predatory challenge from a non-human minor, the responding cadet shall activate containment fields and await security division. No physical engagement. No verbal de-escalation. No exceptions. He looked at Kale. Kale looked back. The knife trembled in his small fingers. His ears, long, tufted, pressed flat against his skull, twitched at the silence around him. His tail, thin and bony, curled tight against his leg. He was not lunging. He was not snarling. He was standing very still, waiting, the way an animal waits when it has backed itself into a corner and decided that the only direction left is forward. Tomas did not reach for his sidearm. He did not call security. He knelt. The sound of his knee hitting the floor plate cracked through the bay like a gunshot. Behind him, someone sucked in a breath. Someone else whispered, Vega, what the hell? The training supervisor, a broad-shouldered woman named Commander Osei, stepped forward from the observation rail, her mouth opening to bark a correction. Tomas raised one hand. Not a command. A request. Wait. He pulled off his helmet. Set it on the floor beside his knee. His dark hair was matted with sweat. His face was open. Unguarded. He looked at Kale the way you look at a stray dog that has wandered onto a highway. Then he spoke. His Vrathi was bad. He knew it was bad. The consonants were too soft, the tonal markers slightly flat, like playing a song in the wrong key. But he spoke it. Kale. You skipped the evening meal. I saw your tray. Untouched. The child's ears flicked. Forward. Then back. Tomas reached into his cargo pocket. Slow. Deliberate. Every movement telegraphed so the boy could track it. He pulled out a ration bar. Standard issue. Oat and synthetic honey. He held it out on his open palm. Are you hungry? The bay held its breath. Kale stared at the ration bar. Then at Tomas's face. Then at the 40 cadets frozen behind him. Then back at the bar. His knife lowered an inch. 2 inches. His tail uncurled a single vertebra. He did not take the bar. He dropped the knife. It clattered on the floor plate, spinning to a stop. Kale's shoulders hunched. His ears flattened again. He made a sound low in his throat, not a growl. A whimper. Small. Wet. The sound a child makes when he has been performing bravery he does not actually feel, and the performance is over. Tomas set the ration bar on the floor between them. Stood up slowly. Stepped back. Gave the boy space. Kale picked up the bar. Tore the wrapper with his teeth. Ate it in 3 bites, fast, desperate, the way a kid eats when he has not eaten in longer than he should. Commander Osei closed her mouth. Opened it again. Closed it. The 40 cadets exhaled. The summons arrived 40 minutes later. Tomas was still in Training Bay 7, helping Kale work through the remainder of the simulation with the rest of the squad. The boy stood beside him now. Not behind him. Beside. His small clawed hand rested on the edge of Tomas's tactical vest, gripping the fabric. He had not spoken since the ration bar. But he had not let go. The summons was a red flag priority. Command deck. Admiral Rennick's office. Immediate. Tomas knelt one more time. I have to go somewhere. You stay with Squad 9. You finish the drill. You understand? Kale nodded. His ears were still flat, but his tail swayed once. A small, uncertain pendulum. Tomas walked to the lift. He did not look back. If he looked back, he would see the boy watching him go, and he would see the fear in that watching, and he would not be able to walk into Admiral Rennick's office with steady hands. He needed steady hands. The command deck smelled like recycled coffee and polymer polish. Admiral Rennick sat behind a desk that was too large for the room, which made the room feel like a closet. Behind her stood Commander Osei and 2 members of the security division, their faces set in the blank patience of people who had already decided what they thought. Sit down, Cadet Sergeant. Tomas sat. Rennick tapped her desk. A hologram bloomed between them. Training Bay 7. The footage. Tomas kneeling. The helmet coming off. The broken Vrathi. The ration bar. Walk me through your decision-making process, Rennick said. Her voice was level. That was worse than shouting. Protocol says containment and security, Tomas said. Protocol says containment and security. Yes, ma'am. And you chose to kneel on the floor and offer a child a snack bar in a language you learned in a classroom. Yes, ma'am. Rennick leaned back. Why? Tomas thought about it. He thought about the way Kale held the knife. Not like a weapon. Like a shield. He thought about the ears. The tail. The way the boy's eyes tracked every cadet in the room before settling on Tomas, searching for something. Permission, maybe. Or proof. Because he was scared, ma'am. Silence. A Vrathi child was in a room with 40 human cadets who all outweigh him by 100 pounds. He had been here 6 weeks. He had not eaten dinner. He had been told by his handlers that integration day would test his dominance calibration. He walked into that bay believing he had to challenge someone or be sent back. He pulled a training knife because it was the only script they gave him. Tomas paused. He was 9. He was performing. And the protocol treats a scared kid performing a script like a combatant. I did not want to put a containment field on a scared kid. Rennick stared at him for a long time. You understand, she said slowly, that the Vrathi cultural liaison has filed a formal objection. You broke the challenge protocol. By not responding with dominance or submission, you introduced a third variable. The liaison calls it contamination of ritual structure. I called it not hurting a child. And the hardline caucus on the station council has requested your removal from the integration program. They are calling it a security compromise. They are using the word vulnerability. They are suggesting that your behavior signals to the Vrathi delegation that humans can be dominated through emotional manipulation. Tomas felt his jaw tighten. He was eating an oat bar, ma'am. I know what he was eating. Rennick rubbed her eyes. The hearing is in 3 days. You will present your case to the full council. If they rule against you, you are pulled from the program. Kale is reassigned to a segregated Vrathi training track. The integration pilot ends. She killed the hologram. The room dimmed. Dismissed, Cadet Sergeant. Tomas stood. Walked to the door. Stopped. Ma'am. The boy has not eaten a full meal since he arrived. I checked the mess logs. 6 weeks. He picks at food. He eats when no one is watching, in the supply closets. The handlers know. They do not care. They call it predatory fasting behavior. It is not behavior. It is a kid who is terrified to eat in front of strangers. Rennick said nothing. Tomas left. The next 2 days were a slow tightening. Tomas was suspended from active duty pending the hearing. He was confined to cadet quarters, level 12. He could not access training bay 7. He could not access the mess hall during integration shifts. He could not see Kale. He spent the hours in his bunk, reading the Vrathi integration accords. All 400 pages. He read them the way a man reads a bomb manual, looking for the one wire that, if cut, stops the explosion. He found it on page 312. Section 44, subsection C. In the event of a predatory challenge issued by a minor under the age of maturity as defined by their species' cultural framework, the responding party may invoke the caretaker exception if the minor is deemed to be acting under duress, coercion, or inadequate socialization. Invocation of the caretaker exception requires testimony from a licensed xenopsychologist and a minimum of 2 corroborating witnesses. He had 40 witnesses. He needed a xenopsychologist. He had 2 days to find one. Dr. Una Solis worked in the station's medical wing, 3rd sublevel, in an office cluttered with anatomical charts of 6 species and a half-dead fern. She was small, sharp-eyed, and had been stationed on Vale for 11 years, which meant she had seen every political cycle the integration program had survived. You want me to testify that a 9-year-old Vrathi was coerced into issuing a challenge of teeth by his handlers, she said, not looking up from her notes. Yes. The handlers will deny it. They will say the challenge was voluntary. A natural expression of Vrathi social development. The challenge was issued in a training bay. In front of 40 human cadets. With a training knife. During a scheduled integration exercise. A 9-year-old does not independently decide to challenge a cadet sergeant during a scheduled drill. Someone told him to. Someone told him the words. Dr. Solis set down her pen. Looked at him. You are aware that if I testify, the Vrathi delegation will view me as hostile. My research access will be revoked. My career here will be over. I am aware. And you are aware that if you lose this hearing, the boy goes back to a segregated track. No human contact. No integration. He grows up in a room with other Vrathi children and learns that the only language between species is teeth. I am aware. She picked up the pen again. Wrote something. tore the page out, handed it to him. I will testify. Bring the boys' mess hall logs. 6 weeks of them. I want to show the council what predatory fasting behavior actually looks like when you graph caloric intake against cortisol markers. She paused. And Vega. Bring the knife. The knife? The training knife. The one he dropped. I want to show them the grip wear. A child who has been drilling a combat grip for weeks has different callus patterns than a child who picked up a knife for the first time that morning. I want them to see his hands. Tomas took the page, nodded, walked out. Behind him, Dr. Solis looked at the half-dead fern. Watered it. The hearing was held in the station council chamber, a circular room with tiered seating and a floor of polished black stone that made every footstep echo. 12 council members sat in the upper ring. The Vrathi liaison, a tall woman named Thessaly with close-cropped silver hair, sat in the observer gallery with 2 aides. The Hardline Caucus, for humans, 3 from the Military Oversight Board, sat opposite. Tomas stood at the center of the floor. No podium. No notes. Just his voice and the stone. Rennick presided. She read the charges. Breach of integration protocol. Unauthorized verbal engagement with a non-human minor during a predatory challenge event. Introduction of an unapproved response variable. Compromise of security posture. The Hardline Caucus spoke first. Councillor Drennan, a thick-necked man with a service record he mentioned in every third sentence, called Tomas's actions a display of emotional weakness that the Vrathi will interpret as a power vacuum. He said the word weakness 4 times. He said vulnerability 3 times. He did not say Kale's name once. The Vrathi liaison spoke next. Thessaly stood. Her voice was quiet, precise. The challenge of teeth is sacred. It is the oldest contract in Vrathi culture. It is how we establish trust. It is how we say, I will show you my worst self, and you will show me yours, and we will survive each other. The human cadet did not meet the challenge. He did not dominate. He did not submit. He mothered. He turned a sacred right into a mealtime. This is not mercy. This is erasure. The chamber murmured. Tomas felt the words land. He understood them. He had read the accords. He knew what the challenge meant. He knew he had stepped outside its structure. But he also knew what Kale's ears looked like when they flattened. And he knew what a whimper sounded like from a throat that was supposed to be growling. Rennick called his name. He stepped forward. I did not erase the challenge, he said. I answered it. In my own language. In the only language that fit the person standing in front of me. The challenge says, I will show you my worst self. He showed me a knife and a script someone handed him. I showed him a ration bar and a question. Are you hungry? That is my worst self. A man on his knees, asking a child if he has eaten, because I did not know what else to do. He paused. The accords say the responding party may invoke the caretaker exception if the minor is acting under duress. I am invoking it. Dr. Solis will testify. 40 cadets will corroborate. And I will show you the boy's hands. Thessaly's eyes narrowed. Dr. Solis took the floor. She was calm. Clinical. She laid out 6 weeks of mess hall data. Caloric intake graphs. Cortisol markers pulled from routine medical scans. Sleep disruption logs. She showed the council a chart that looked like a slow, steady decline, a line sinking towards 0. This is not predatory fasting, she said. This is a child who is afraid to eat in a room full of strangers because no one has told him it is safe to eat in a room full of strangers. This is not biology. This is isolation. She pulled up the knife. The grip wear. The callous mapping. These hands have not trained for combat. These hands held a utensil for the first time 3 days before the challenge. Someone put this knife in his hand and told him what to say. The chamber went quiet. Thessaly stood. Her aides whispered behind her. She looked at Tomas. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then she said, in accented but clear human English, "You asked him if he was hungry." "Yes." "No one has asked him that." "In 6 weeks." "No one has asked him that." Her voice broke on the last word. Just slightly. A hairline fracture. She sat down. The council deliberated for 2 hours. Tomas waited on the black stone floor. He could not leave. He was not permitted to leave. So he stood. And waited. And thought about a small hand gripping the edge of a tactical vest. The ruling came at 1900 station time. Rennick read it from the bench. The hardline caucus dissented, 3 votes to 9. The caretaker exception was upheld. Tomas was cleared of all charges. His suspension was lifted. The integration program would continue. But the ruling carried a condition. Kale would not be reassigned. He would remain in Squad 9. And Tomas would be appointed his primary integration liaison. Not a commander. Not a supervisor. A liaison. The word was specific. It meant the person the child goes to when the script runs out. Tomas accepted. Thessaly approached him after the chamber cleared. She stood close. Close enough that he could see the fine scars along her jaw, old challenge marks. She had been a cadet once, too. "You broke the structure," she said. "Yes. The structure needed breaking. But you should know what it costs. The next challenge will not come from a child. It will come from an adult. And an adult will not drop the knife." "I know." She studied him. Then she reached out and touched his shoulder. A brief, firm press. Vrathi. A gesture he had seen in the Accords but never received. It meant, roughly, "I have seen your teeth. They are not sharp. I will remember this." She walked away. Tomas found Kale in Training Bay 7. The bay was empty. The lights were dimmed to the low amber setting that the Vrathi found easier on their eyes. The boy sat in the corner, his back against the wall, his knees drawn up. The ration bar wrapper was in his lap. Smooth flat. Folded into a small square. He looked up when Tomas entered. His ears tilted forward. His tail uncurled. Tomas sat down beside him. Not across. Beside. Their shoulders almost touched. "You ate the whole bar," Tomas said. Kale nodded. "Good." They sat. The bay hummed around them. Somewhere in the station, the air recyclers pushed oxygen through the vents. Somewhere, the council members were filing out, arguing, calling aides, drafting memos. Somewhere, Thessaly was reporting back to her delegation, choosing her words carefully, building the case for the next fight. None of that was here. Kale unfolded the wrapper. Smoothed it again. Held it out. Tomas took it. Looked at it. A small square of foil, creased and worn soft. A kid keeping a thing because it was the first kind thing that came with it. "You can keep it," Tomas said. Cale shook his head. Pushed it back into Tomas's hand. Then he leaned sideways. Just a few inches. His head rested against Tomas's arm. His ears were up. His tail swayed, slow, a lazy pendulum. He was not performing. He was not challenging. He was just a kid, sitting in a warm room, leaning against the first person who had asked him if he was hungry. Tomas did not move. He sat with the weight of the boy against his arm and watched the amber lights and listened to the air recyclers breathe. Outside the bay, the station turned. The stars moved. The accords sat in their binders, 400 pages of rules written by people who had never been 9 years old in a room full of strangers. But in here, in the amber quiet, the rules were simple. You sit down. You ask if they are hungry. You stay. That was the whole protocol. The end.